everyone. I'm Kelsey,
And I'm JPatt.
and you're listening to the Box Officers
Yeah.
podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in, and please be sure to leave us a star rating or review wherever you're listening to this episode.
Watching a bad movie is like witnessing a serious crime, but have no fear, the box officers are here. Every episode, Kelsey, George, and I will review a new movie, and at the end of each episode, we're going to classify the film according to the severity of punishment.
Films can be convicted of a felony, a misdemeanor, an infraction, or on the rare occasion found innocent. Now, this week, in honor of the IMAX re release, we will be
Yeah.
reviewing the movie Apollo 13. So, if you haven't seen it yet, you actually can just stick around because it's been like 20 plus years. But otherwise, let's get into the episode.
For a long time, I thought this movie was about like aliens. I didn't know it was kind of like a like a biography or whatever. I don't know, retelling of stories that happened. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, it's kind of like a drama-mentary, kind of like it's giving
Yeah,
documentary and also drama movie, which I love. But
mhm,
yeah, no, this is real life. This really happened, which makes it even crazier.
yeah. I thought it was like Apollo 13, but this Apollo 13 is where they find some kind of like mysterious life on the moon. So that's what I assumed it was until like we decided to do an episode on it, and I was like, oh, it's just a normal retelling. But I mean, they did pretty good with it for sure. I had no idea that happened.
Yeah, I love a documentary that is set as like a movie or a drama or
Hmm.
like action whatever because it is a really good way for people to like learn about something in a very stimulating kind of
Yeah,
way, you know. Um and this is like a really, I mean, I guess we could start with the cast. Great
yeah,
casting.
sure.
You have Tom Hanks, Bill
My boy
Paxton, Ed
Tom.
Harris,
Yeah,
Kevin Bacon. Like, they got everybody in here.
they did.
Literally everybody. And I think that's so cool. And also, I want to say, we also just want to take time to acknowledge the passing of Jim Lovell. So he was the commander of Apollo
Oh,
13.
really?
Yeah, and he passed, I think it was in August.
Oh,
So,
wow. Of this year?
yeah,
So that's probably why they re-released it, huh?
maybe. I mean, they might have known, like, I don't know how long it
Yeah,
takes to remaster a movie, maybe longer than like a month, but I think it's very, whether it was because of him or just because they figured it was like the anniversary, so they should re-release it anyways. I think it's very, I don't know, sentimental
yeah,
timing to have it re-release after his passing, just so everybody can kind of take time to remember like his contributions to like our space programs and science and
right.
all of the beautiful things that NASA can do now. So, yeah, it's
Wow.
crazy because when I was younger, I was obsessed with NASA and I really wanted to work for NASA. And it wasn't until
Mhm.
I got to like middle school and I was like, oh, I'm actually like extremely average at math. Like I can do math, but it takes a lot of work for me. Some people just show up and they do math very well. I always had
Yeah,
to work really, really, really hard to get like great grades in math. And I don't I don't know. I feel like that's for the people who either want to work that hard for the rest of their lives or are like
hmm,
gifted naturally with that talent. And I was like,
yeah,
but even if I want to be an astronaut, and my mom was like, yeah, you have to like be good at that stuff. So that dream
yeah.
died young. Yeah, physics, all of the things,
It's definitely the same for me.
not my
Because I wanted
testimony.
to be I wanted to do aerospace engineering when we first started college. But like, I think not even a semester in, like I just changed my whole degree plan.
I don't
Like
even
I'm
blame
not,
you.
I was not built for that yet.
These people are geniuses, and I think that's
Hmm.
so cool, like what they get to do and the opportunities that come from that. And when I was like younger, my sister wanted to, well, I was like maybe 5 or 6 or some I don't know. And my sister was younger. And we're driving to Houston because it's going to be my first time visiting NASA. I was so excited. And this little
Hmm.
girl breaks her beaded bracelet in the backseat of the car. She's not saying anything. She puts a bead in her ear. And she doesn't say
What?
anything the whole drive. And then she just starts crying and she's like, my ear hurts, my ear hurts. So they take her to like an urgent care and the doctor can't get it out. And it actually gets pushed down a little further in her canal because like it's just so
Yeah.
tiny. And then we had to go to another place. I think it took like 2 or 3 places before they got it out. It was actually so
Hmm.
traumatizing because I could hear her like screaming from the lobby. Like, point is, I didn't get to go to NASA that weekend, and I was
Wow.
so mad. I was so upset. I'm like, I'm glad she's okay, but that was my dream. I did eventually get to go back and see all
Yeah.
of the things, but I that's my first NASA memory. So yeah, Kennedy, if you're watching this, thanks a lot. I could have been an astronaut if she didn't put that bracelet in her ear.
Oh,
But
for real.
so, anyways, let's get into the movie. You mentioned earlier that you thought it was about like aliens or something. How did you
Hmm.
feel from a movie perspective, not from like a historical perspective, just as a person watching a movie? How did you feel this compared to other space related movies? Like, for me, my favorite space movie is Interstellar. I don't know if
Hmm.
you have like
Yeah,
a
I've seen
movie
it.
that comes
Yeah.
to mind.
Yeah, a movie like Interstellar, a movie like well, it's not really a space movie, but it's that movie called Arrival with the aliens. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could classify that. I mean, it's more like sci-fi, but you might
I'll
be able
give
to
it to
classify
you.
it.
They
Yeah,
came from space. I saw that one too. Yeah.
yeah. I like it just because I mean, for one, it's realistic, and then two, you kind of get to
Arrival?
see. No, no, no. Like I
Oh, this
can.
is realistic.
Yeah, this I like the realism of it, but it's kind of like also I like the fact that it's in a different time period, but it makes you think like, man, like things seem so advanced just for it being the 1960s. You know what I'm saying? I still try to wrap my head around how did we get a rocket up to the moon, and I just think about all the technology that's required. And then even the parts where they're like trying to land it onto the station and they have to like aim it correctly, like to fit into that little circle. I'm like, y'all put your whole y'all risked the whole mission on getting it into that little hole just for it to connect. So I like the fact that it's almost like a retro sci-fi. It felt like, if you look at a movie like Interstellar, they have all this high tech, they're you're dealing with time travel at that point.
I was gonna say they're
But
on a different like.
yeah, they're on a different scale, but the way that it looked in the movie, it was like this retro version of a sci-fi movie where, it's like, okay, you have to rescue the crew, you have to get them back safely. And then I just also like the drama when it came to, the astronauts working alongside the people on the ground. So like they weren't even the only heroes, you know what I'm saying? Like that control
Mhm.
room, you saw how chaotic it was. And it's the fact that you have all of those people and all of that chaos, and you have to direct astronauts that are miles away to get back on Earth safely. It almost seems impossible. Like I said, they're
It
geniuses.
was.
If this was me, I would have been like, I'm praying for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, like
Yeah.
I would have folded immediately. But I guess compared to other space movies, I feel like this is kind of like one of those foundational ones. Like, I'm sure Interstellar probably took some of the drama or the things from this movie and put it in theirs, Um, because Apollo 13, it was a highly rated film, right? Uh,
Mhm.
especially for 1995. Things look pretty good for 1995. That's my
Yeah, it
opinion.
was. It's like 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's
Yeah.
like up there. I think like a 7.7 on IMDb. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
the people agree. It's a good movie. And
Yeah.
I would agree with everything you said. I think that this is nice in that in comparison to some of these other space movies, like it does have the fact that it's realistic mainly because
Yeah.
it happened, but it just
Yeah.
still feels like, wow, this is something that can inspire. I mean, I think unrealistic movies inspire people too, like superhero movies inspire people, but it's always nice when it's something that you're like, no, this could actually happen tomorrow for real. And it gives
Yeah. Right.
people like that hope feeling and you're like rooting for them and it's just like, wow, this is humanity, literally. But yeah, so I would say something that I really liked about it was the acting. whenever you're doing a documentary like in this form and you have actors, I need to believe that you are who you say you are. Otherwise, you ruin the whole thing, and it takes away from the like learning experience. And all I can see is like, oh my gosh, it's Tom Hanks, you know. And I
Yeah,
don't want to feel that way when I watch a documentary. I want to buy into what you're selling.
yeah,
They ate it up. I can't name a
yeah, they
single
did.
person on the screen who flopped. I believed every single person, even in the control room. I was like, yes, they are doing math for real. I absolutely buy into it. They are,
Hmm.
saving lives right now. I was so impressed. And we don't always get that nowadays. These are like, the 90s. We have like some of the best people ever do some of their best work.
Yeah,
And I feel like this is a really good example of that. Like, it was solid across the board. Like, 10 out of
yeah.
10 acting for sure.
I feel like this was like probably like Tom Hanks's like golden age because he did Forrest Gump around this time too, right?
I
Around the
think so.
90s. Yeah. So I'm like, man, yeah, he was a heavy hitter back then. And then he went on to be
Absolutely.
Woody. Then he went on to be Woody. So it's even
No,
crazier.
generational run,
Yeah.
truly. They're just not doing it like my brother Tom. I love him so bad. And I actually think Forrest Gump was like literally the year before, came out the year before. So he
Oh
was
wow,
booked
really?
and busy.
Yeah. And
Tom, keep a
Paige.
check, Hanks, absolutely. But yeah, I just think that he did a great job. So did everybody else, and I think it did the movie justice. Of course, or like the story justice. Of course,
Hmm.
whenever you have something like this, like on a science level, there are gonna be things that they did it for the plot. It's for the movie. It's a movie. It can't be super realistic. But I feel like as a person who doesn't know anything about like spaceships or anything, watching
Yeah.
it, nothing seemed unrealistic. I never thought like
Wow.
that didn't really happen. Like I bought into the plot as well. It's hard to take a real life situation and adapt it to a movie and make it interesting enough for somebody to sit
Hmm.
there for 2+ hours. But I feel like
Yeah.
no, I that seemed real and I was engaged.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny because like in real life they call this mission like a successful failure because if they failed they would have died. But it's the fact that they didn't and they were able to make it back to Earth somehow. Well, that's a success to them. Nobody died. They didn't touch the moon, but at least they
Yeah.
didn't, float off into space. So I kind of went into the movie after reading that quote, and it kind of just I guess in a way, it kind of made it a bit more, it raised the stakes for me just watching the movie, just a bit more on edge. Because in reality, it's like, if you think about the worst thing that could have happened, they could have never touched the moon. They never, they could have blown up, or they could have, worst thing possible, they could have just like floated off into space. That's scary to me personally. Like, that's a personal fear,
Horrifying.
even though, yeah, it's a personal fear, even though I'll never experience it. It's a personal fear just floating off into space and then like it's like it's just wasting away. It's like a very slow death. So
Mhm.
yeah,
That
but
is scary.
yeah. But did you like I guess the music, because there's the whole soundtrack that goes with it. So
Oh yeah, it was
yeah.
a beautiful score. Someone actually tweeted, they said Apollo 13 is a perfect movie to me. I know it by heart and nothing elicits my deepest feelings like this impeccable James Horner score. Loved every minute of seeing it in IMAX, brought back the memory of seeing it in the theater with my family when I was a kid. And yeah, the score is perfect. And
Yeah.
what I love about a good score is when you're watching the movie and you can like feel the emotion, not just because of the acting, because of the score and the music,
Yeah.
but you're not clocking that tea in the moment. You know it's good when you hear it later and it takes you back. Again, I have to bring up Interstellar because that's like one
Yeah.
of the most iconic scores of all time. And it's like watching the movie, did I think about it in the moment? No. But if you
Yeah.
played it here, you give me 3 seconds of that, I'll know it for the rest of my life. And I feel like this is one of those that like does the same. It's like you have that strong association because of the intensity of those scenes and how the music kind of supports it. And it just,
Mhm.
it has a strong memory association, music, I think. But I loved it. Yeah, the music was great.
Yeah.
Space music is important. You're making a space movie, the music's got to be 10 out
Yeah,
of
it's
10.
gotta
It's got to
be.
be a
Yeah.
banger.
I find it funny that like even in those intense moments in the movies, it's kind of like the actual conversations were like very they were like being so calm, but it was like you're running out of oxygen, but they're talking as if they're just like running out of printing paper or something like that. It's like,
Literally, yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I guess you got to stay calm in like a moment like that. But
You have to.
that takes some, that takes some guts. Yeah.
It does, for sure.
Mm.
And I feel like there were a few moments where I was like, they're so calm and they're so hopeful and they're so confident. And I think the movie did a really good job of showing those moments where they were like vulnerable as well. Like, because they had to
Hmm.
tell each other at one point, like, you got to chill out, like, calm down, like, lock in. But
Yeah.
even you think about the control room, and this is probably like the second most famous line from the situation when Gene Kranz, who was played by Ed Harris, he's like, failure is not an option. Everything around you is suggesting that you are indeed about to fail. And this is huge
Yeah.
because people haven't died in space. That's just not a thing yet. And the fact that they're like, it's the United States that will be like basically the first to lose people in space.
Hmm.
Like, that's a big deal. And we just won the space race. Like, it's crazy. And all of this pressure is on this guy. And he's just like, I think this is going to be our finest moment, And he's just
Yeah.
constantly with the one-liners are flowing throughout the movie, and he's just eating them up every time. And it's just the fact that at the end, once I think it's Jim Lovell, so Tom Hanks' character, he said something along the lines of like, "Good to see you guys again." After it was a long period of silence, like the communication went out longer than expected, and you could just
Yeah.
see like Ed Harris like sink in his chair, and he's like finally able to release that emotion. I'm like, that
Yeah.
is heavy stuff. These people are stressed in a way that I'm convinced I've never
Yeah.
been
I
stressed
can.
before, for real. Because
Nah.
this is crazy, but the
Yeah.
fact that the
People.
actors were able to like make that so convincing, I was like, my heart was like beating so fast for them.
Yeah. I couldn't. I'm surprised they were able to like just emulate that because I mean it's different than. I wonder how the people who were actually in, the control room, or, even the guys on the ship, I wonder if they were like, man, that's exactly how it happened, or that's exactly how it felt. And it'd be pretty cool to, think that the guy who played Jane, was able to emulate that perfectly, in such a way that it made the movie feel, hyper realistic.
Hmm.
I wonder if the real people, like the real life people, were like, yeah, he did that perfectly. Like, I wonder what
Yeah,
their
I'm
thoughts on the movie
curious
were,
too.
because I mean, Jim Lovell, you got to see himself played in a movie. So I always wonder, like, when it comes to these kind of like retellings, what do the people who live those moments actually feel or think,
Same. Yeah, any
You know.
documentary, I'm just like, how do you feel? Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
And somebody who was kind of like whose story I empathized with so much. Ken Mattingly, who was played by Gary
Yeah, the
Sinise.
wife.
I'm sorry if I mispronounced his last name. No, this is the astronaut that was supposed to go, but got exposure to like German measles or
Measles.
something. And they were
Yeah.
like, yeah, they were like, you can't come, brother. And he's like, I'm literally not going to get sick. And he did it.
Yeah.
But obviously, you can't risk that. I mean, everybody else I think had already had the measles, but still, you're like,
Yeah.
sorry, like you're staying on the ground. That is so hard, and you can see like him watching the ship, like the rocket take off and all of that
Hmm.
stuff. And I think that's a really important piece of the story. But what I really liked was when afterwards they're like, hey, something's wrong and we don't know what to tell them to do up there. We don't know how to tell them to like land basically, because the
Yeah.
I would say the most dangerous part was coming back into the atmosphere, trying
Yeah,
to make
definitely.
sure
Yeah.
like everyone's still with us. And he
Mhm.
was in that simulator running it, running it, running it. And the craziest part is they were like, yeah, you have like 12 amps of power that you could use or something. Like, that's nothing. I don't know what in my house right now could run on that.
Right.
And so
Yeah, now that I think about
it's
it.
just the fact that, yeah. And they were like, well, he did it. And oh my gosh, my heart, like, I actually leaned forward in my chair whenever you see the little thing teetering to see how
Hmm.
much power he's using. And they're trying to see is he going to hit that
Yeah.
20 amps line or not. And they're like, you're over by like 4 amps. What the heck is 4 amps? Like, their brains were moving. And you can just see everyone's relief. Like, whenever they play their role, they give their contribution, and then they just have relief when they're like, okay, we're that much closer to getting these guys home. But I thought his character honestly had like such a big part in
Yeah.
them making it home, because without him, who else was going to know what to do? He had been preparing the past however many months for this specific mission.
For that.
And I think
That's right.
that is also, yeah, I think that's something that can be like, if you're looking at like themes or takeaways from the movie, or even just the story in general, sometimes things happen and it's really disappointing and sad and hurtful in the moment, but it's like
Hmm.
everything has its purpose and can be used for like a greater good. Had he been on that rocket, nobody would have been on the ground that had been
Yeah.
that prepared to try to run the simulation to know, hey, I know what they're seeing up there. I know what's going on. I ran it for months at a time. Now let's see how I can tweak it. He was able to give them step by step by step on what to do to
Hmm.
get back home. And I don't know if anybody else would have been able to do that. But him getting, not even getting the
No,
measles, just being
definitely.
exposed, saved 3 lives
Yeah.
that day and
They
helped
got a
like us do one of our like, best rescue missions in the history of
yeah.
forever,
They got a miracle
So
off that.
yeah, yeah. So you never know. You never know what's coming from your like, delay in whatever situation. It can always be used for something like super important. I don't know if you would have anything bad to say about the movie, but I don't know anyone who dislikes this. I mean, I did see someone say it's a great film, but y'all act like it invented space drama. Watch
Yeah.
Solaris or The Right Stuff and grow up. And it's
It's
like,
kind of hating though.
no,
It's kind of hating.
you're hating. You're hating because it literally did invent space drama. Like, this was the original space drama. I don't know where they think space drama came from. I don't know
Yeah.
what their mind is on. If they're like, no, Star Wars is better. Or actually, they said Solaris is better. But this is real life space drama. There was no drama outside of like the space race. Like, this is like the OG situation. So I don't even know what that tweet meant, honestly.
Yeah.
Personally, I can't even think of a bad thing to say about the movie, for real.
I did read something that said that the Apollo 13, the crew, the infighting in there during the crisis was played up in the movie for drama because they were pros and they did their jobs, little if any arguments. As far as they've read, I guess, just based off of testimony from the actual pilots. But I mean, if you're gonna have a movie, you're gonna have to have some drama in it. You know what I'm
You
saying?
had to
It's a
have
yeah, it's
some
a
tips.
retelling. Yeah,
Yeah, I love that for them in real life. Like, they
yeah,
didn't have a lot of conflict, and I kind of, I believe that, because this is your job. Like, again, it's your job. You got to show up, do your job, whatever. But I thought it
hmm,
added a special element for the film purposes, in that now in the end, when we see Kevin Bacon's character, so Jack Swigert, have that conflict, and he's like feeling somewhat responsible, even though it really wasn't his fault. He did exactly what he was told to do, and them kind of bickering about it, and then them saying, you know what, Tom Hanks is like, it's not your fault. You got to move past this. We got to get home. So, like, everybody lock in.
yeah,
You kind of have that moment where there's not an antagonist. The antagonist is the ship. But if you wanted to talk about conflict, of course they felt some kind of way because they were like, our friend was supposed to be here, Ken was supposed to be here, and now you're here. It adds an interesting, like, sub conflict that is needed for a movie
yeah,
to be interesting. So I think that's okay.
yeah. And there was one thing that I did like that I saw in the movie. If you notice it, you notice that like the Apollo astronauts, if you notice their cars, they're all kind of like Corvettes. I'm like, dang, they got some nice cars. But apparently, the Apollo astronauts were given Corvettes by like a local dealership, and there was $1 per month payment to keep things like legal. So in the movie, that's why several of them are seen driving around, the
That's super
Corvettes.
cool.
And I think that little detail was pretty nice. It was a pretty nice little add-in. So that's one thing I
Yeah.
did like about the movie. After I watched it, I did a little research on it. So
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, that's why they were all driving. Because I just kind of like ran into that. I'm like, oh, okay, that answers my question. But
Yeah.
yeah, they got it down to a T when it comes to a lot of the details in there.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
they did. And they did their research For the
13.
most part, it was pretty accurate. So I would say like very interesting, and I'm glad they re-released it in IMAX. Space movies deserve
Yeah.
IMAX all the time. There's no
Oh
better
yeah.
thing to show on the big screen than space.
I still need to see Interstellar in IMAX, but they haven't
I also
re-released it on
saw
IMAX
that
yet.
they did. It was last year, sometime in the fall, I
Yeah,
think. I
they didn't do
went
it
and
every
saw
year.
it. Yeah, it was something serious. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. It was really crazy. I don't know. I love an IMAX film in general.
Hmm.
That 10 out of 10. But it's hard. Sometimes I'm hesitant to rate a documentary style thing because I'm like, I'm not criticizing what happened, like history. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, of course.
nonetheless, this is the Box Officers podcast, and we got to lay down the law. What would you rate this movie?
I'm going to place it at innocent. I'm going to place it at innocent. I think I'd only give it a couple points off because there wasn't a little bit of alien in it. I'm sorry.
That is crazy.
I'm being petty. I know I'm being petty. I'll give
That
it
is
a, I'm gonna give it
hilarious.
an innocent because I mean, for one, it's a classic. It's a classic for a reason. I really enjoyed it my first time watching it. And I mean, Tom Hanks, he's like one of my favorite actors. He's in my top 10, especially after watching Forrest Gump. I think I watched Forrest Gump for the first time when I was like 14. And after that, I've probably watched it like five more times. So he's one of my favorite actors, and he did a great job on this movie as well as everybody else. And the fact that I don't have much, I really don't have anything bad to say about it, is the reason that it's innocent. And also,
True.
I like a little 90s movie. The film they use, just the quality of it, how it looks. I
Mm-hmm.
always enjoy that. And I think this movie, though it was like 1995, it did a great job with, with the actors, with the quality of the set, with the effects. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to do that even now.
Yeah.
Nowadays there's a lot of green screens. People don't love practical effects. We love practical effects as an
Yeah.
audience, but like, people try to use all kinds of things. I think we're kind of getting back to shooting on film, but half the stuff now is filmed on an iPhone. Like, it's just not the same. So it's really nice to
Yeah.
go back to that period of time where things were just a little bit different. But I would also have to give this movie the rating of innocent. I don't have a bad thing
Hmm.
to say. I normally can at least find one thing. I can find one thing. I don't have a single complaint. I thought it was
Not a
great.
thing.
Not
Yeah.
a thing. It was well paced. I walked away from it knowing more about something than I did before.
Hmm.
I feel like the acting was 10 out of 10. And it's not one of those movies where it's just like the main characters have like good acting skills. Every
Right.
single person, down to like the hustle and bustle of the conversations in the control
Hmm.
room, every single person ate. Not a single line was I like, oh, that didn't fall right or that didn't deliver right. The score was amazing. The cinematography was amazing. The effects were amazing. I have nothing. They owe me
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah, take my money and take it again. It was just a great movie. It's a classic, and it's one that will kind of, withstand this test of time. I think it's
Yeah.
one that I need to add to my little DVD collection, the one that's like physical DVDs that I use for the
Yeah.
portable
Pretty little
player.
portable.
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah. I need to add Apollo 13 to the physical
Yeah.
list. I always think like if the apocalypse happens or like I don't know something crazy and I have to go underground, which would be hard because we're in Texas, but
Yeah.
I'll find a way. And I always think like at least I'll have movies, and it's like what movies would I want like my grandchildren to watch in a bunker, and I'll add Apollo
Yeah.
13 to that list.
Yeah. We're definitely gonna put in the little bunker playlist.
What can I say? Only things that because when they come out of the bunker,
Hmm.
historians are going to be talking to these people and they're going to, let's say all the other movies are gone, like there's no way to play Netflix ever again,
Yeah.
and the kids born in the bunker, they're like, mommy, what's a movie? Well, I got one for you, and you'll start with this one. So that's kind of what I think. It's the highest praise I could give a movie.
They are
I
not
need
going to
to
be
start
able
like
to understand
a
this movie.
series. I know. They're gonna be like, "What's a spaceship? Like, what is space? I've never seen the sun." Anyways, I need to start like a series, like movies to be played in the bunker. I feel like that would be fun.
That could work.
I hope people understand where I'm coming from. Um, but yeah, this was so much fun. It's always nice to watch, I love a new release, but it's always
Mhm.
nice to kind of go back and watch a film again and think about it in a new light, new perspective. You're older, wiser, see what you could take away from it. And this one, it won't be my last time seeing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so next week we will be back with another film to review. We will be reviewing one battle after another. This is something
Seems
that
like
we're
it's going to
very
be pretty
excited.
good. Yeah.
Yes, seems like it. But not everything is as it seems. It could be horrible.
That's sure.
But we'll let you know if it's good or
Yeah.
if it's bad right here on the Box Officers podcast. But until then, we're out of here. Please be sure to comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know if
Yep.
there are other streaming movies or old movies that we should be reviewing, because not everything has to be a new release over here. We don't judge. So let us know what you think and let us know what you thought about Apollo 13. Otherwise, we're out of here.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.